All right. All right. Welcome, family. I know that was like an abrupt stop right there. Sorry about that. I played the wrong file there. But anyway, so glad to have you guys here. Welcome. I actually was not really planning on today to go live. I was, I said, man, I put out enough, just yesterday. I'm not trying to, I'm not going to do anything else. But then this happened. And so what we're going to talk about here, I think is important. And I think by the time we're finished here this evening, I think you'll see, that you will seriously see that, yeah, this is something important we should be paying attention to. Anyway, what you see on the screen, the music that was just playing, that's from our album that we just came out with. It's called Sound Time. It's got 12 wonderful songs on there that we put together, and it's a great thing to play if you're just trying to chill out, relax, and all of that. And you'll find that is on our website, sambatree.com, sambatree.com. And yeah, you'll find it under new arrivals, $4.99. As soon as you pay for it, you'll be able to instantly download it. And there you go. And I'm actually working on a second one right now. And we're just trying to get as much good, positive music out there as possible for our people, especially during this time, during these times, because we need to, like I always say, the importance of protecting our peace. We got to protect our peace above all else. You got to do that. People oftentimes ask me, well, what's your strategy? Strategy number one is removing the lies, and strategy number two is protecting our peace, and or protecting my peace, I should say that. And so that's what we're doing today. And but anyway, check that out. That was what you was hearing today was part of that. But you didn't tune in for that. Okay, so as we have been saying, on this platform, that all of these different protests that have been happening, they were all orchestrated by the same people, by the same individuals. In this broadcast that you're going to watch this evening, we're going to lay it all out as much as we can, show you proof and evidence of that. And I said the reason why they're doing this, I said at the tail end of this, there is a bill, there's legislation that they're going to pass that's going to go take this thing a whole nother further. Just like I was sharing with my daughter, I was saying the crazy thing is that you got all of these cameras out there on the lawns of these Ivy League schools that you and I, don't even, most people that I know haven't even attended or maybe even gone to, but yet they want to position these protests that are happening on these college campuses as if it's the front lawn, or I should say the front street of America, period. And that's a complete piece of garbage. I'll just say that. Okay. I had to pause there for a moment. Okay. But it's a complete piece of garbage. These individuals, they know exactly what they're doing. They're very well organized, as you know, and the college campuses have always been a very cheap way to stage your whatever it is, your agenda. And what better place to do it if you're talking a stage is to go where you can get the cheapest actors that are out there, and that's college students. This is why when you see all these different protests, a lot of times they'll say like, well, this protest started a movement, or that protest started a movement on these college campuses. No, the college campuses is where the funders of these colleges, when you do the history of the people who fund these colleges, what they are doing is this is their stage on letting you know on what's coming up. So anytime you see a lot of protests happening, and you can go all throughout history, anytime you see a protest bubbling up, supposedly organically on a college campus, rest assured that is the people behind all of that are setting the stage up, letting you know this is what's coming down the pike. And usually when you follow that, what's on the other side of that is a bill. You can go as far back as when you look at this during the civil rights movement. I don't even want to say civil rights movement, because it was civil rights. You had women's rights. You had all this stuff that was going on these college campuses, and during the 60s. And out of that came all types of legislations. It was just all kind. It wasn't just a civil rights bill, because black folks, we oftentimes will focus on the civil rights bill, but there were also other pieces of legislation that came out of there too. It was a major transformative flashpoint in American history when all of those protests were happening on those college campuses in the 60s. And another point that I brought up to the research group earlier, I did a video for them earlier today, is this. It's also a setup when the buildings aren't burnt down. When the buildings ain't burnt down, it's a setup. Because when you see all of that rage, I want you to think about this for a second. There's two things I want to bring up, okay? And then tonight we're going to zoom it in. We're going to talk about the details of this bill. Okay, so if you're someone that has a short attention span, I'm just letting you know this is not the video for you. Okay, just keep it right on moving. All right, but we're going to get into the details and we're going to do reading. Okay, so that you can understand exactly what's going on. But there's two things I want to bring up here that I think there was funny observations. When you go back into like the 60s, right? When Martin Luther King, when he was assassinated, there was that amongst black folks was real rage. It was pretty much uncontrollable rage. What did black people do during those times? When the protests were going out? This is like all over the country. We were going, again, it was a high emotional time. We can Tuesday morning quarterback all we want, but you got to understand what the mindset was and what black people were going through at that moment. So I'm not being critical in a negative way. I'm just pointing things out. Black folks had reached the pretty much the pinnacle of just frustration. Just when it appeared that we were going to make it, just as it appeared that, wow, progress is finally going to be made, here you had the assassination of Martin Luther King that took place along with the other civil rights leaders, right? Once that happened, black folks said, enough is enough. It's just going to be a day or days of rage. And many of our people took to the streets and we began to start pretty much torching whatever was around us. Not all black folks, but you had a lot of black folks that was going around and doing this. This is why they called it burn, baby, burn. All right. That's what that short window of time it was called. It was called burn, baby, burn. We just going to burn everything down. We just going to tear it all up. And unfortunately what happened was we were attacking our own stuff. We destroyed our own economy. But like I said, again, I'm not being negatively critical of it. I'm just pointing out what happened. And I'm also trying to get you as a listener to understand, especially those who aren't old enough, who didn't live during those times. You have to understand how frustrated black people were at that time. And, when you feel like you don't have any recourse, you're going to do stupid stuff like that. You understand what I'm saying? So just understand that, why we were doing that kind of stuff. And then fast forward to, the O.J. Simpson trial, you had, and this was like in the 90s? It was in the 90s where, again, police brutality was becoming, black folks were getting sick and tired of the whole police brutality thing. And we just said, enough is enough, all of this, right? And then even though black folks, we can look back in retrospect and we can see that, OJ was guilty as Satan himself. I mean, just for the most part, most black folks believe that. I know I might have some trolls or something that may come around and say, well, did you see this documentary? Because if you look at this angle, I ain't getting all that. That dude did something. Okay. He definitely did something. All right. And so, but bottom line is he was set free. He was, they went through the whole court case, analyzed everything, put the glove on, it didn't fit, all of that. And then he was pretty much set free. But but there was, at that time, black folks again was so frustrated. Oh, no, I'm getting it mixed up. I'm getting my stuff mixed up. Sorry. That was the other dude. that was getting, someone remind me, it wasn't OJ Simpson. Sorry, I'm getting my dates, I'm getting my events mixed up. When the brother was beat up by the cops in LA. Someone dropped the name in real quick. Again, I when you're just reading and doing stuff all the time, sometimes it just, some names I just forget. But yeah, that's when that all broke out. It wasn't OJ Simpson. My bad. I'm getting it mixed up. But yeah, when the dude was beat up by those cops, brutally by those cops in LA, by the LAPD, and when those cops, that's what it was, when the cops got set free, that's what it was. It had nothing to do with OJ Simpson. I take that 100% back. It was those LAPD when they were found, Rodney King, thank you. When they got caught, you know, and they went through the whole process and then they got set free. Black folks, again, we felt like we have no recourse. So what happened? We took to the streets and we started destroying everything around us, you know, again, but you have to understand the mindset and also the context of what black people were going through even at that time. Okay. And so it still wasn't, I'm not making an excuse for it. I just want people to understand that. Okay. So anyway, in both of those cases, that is real 100% rage. So if you want to measure real rage versus fake rage, look no further than your own people. This is why I always say, you always hold on to your culture. You always hold on to your history, because your history and your culture is a great measuring tool to be able to measure between the real and the BS that's out here. Okay. And sadly, a lot of our people are preferring the latter, and they're trying to run away from your culture and your own history. So now it's just all this confusion out here. But see, we don't have to be confused when it comes down to measuring what is real rage versus fake rage, because black folks know about that. We have a whole history on that. Okay. So when I was looking at what's going on these college campuses, they're throwing around chairs. They're spraying spray paint on stuff and all of that. But you notice that the buildings are still up. Nothing's being torched. Nothing's being really wrecked and destroyed. Not really. And it's coming out now, because I got different accounts right now. It's starting to come out now that I'm going to play a video clip too, where they said that a lot of these people that are doing these things on these college campuses aren't even college students. These are external people. This is according to Columbia, the University of Columbia University. They said that we looked into this and we found that a lot of these people they're not even students here. So you got that side of it. We're also going to look at the person that was supposedly the spokesperson for the anti-Zionist movement or whatever that was taking place on the campus. They have a very interesting background. See, we're going to look at all of this evening, because it's very important. Just because it's not about black people directly, it does not mean that you disconnect and leave it alone. Okay? Our people have to learn, when we see things like this, take a seat, sit back, make sure you got a notebook or you're taking good notes, because what you're watching is how different people move. Okay? And this ties in directly to what we have been saying ongoing on this platform about the strategy that is being used supposedly by some of these black folks out here when it comes to reparations. Because you actually believe that by doing the things that you're doing right now online, you know, and most of it is online based, you actually believe that it's actually moving something with the decision makers of this country. It's not. Right. Someone's asking, they said, can anyone explain to me what Hamas or Israel has to do with the average American? Directly, nothing. Indirectly, that's what we're going to talk about. And that's why we're having this discussion tonight as to why we should pay attention to it, and don't zoom out just because it doesn't have any, you don't see the black angle in it, or it doesn't center around a black kid getting his brains beat out by a white cop. You understand what I'm saying? We have to learn to look at these things and learn from them. You know what I'm saying? So you got that, like I said. So number one, we know this wasn't real rage at all. And then, like I said, again, we're going to look at the backgrounds of these different individuals. We're also going to take a look at the content of this bill that was passed. Now, in the last time when we were talking about this, I said, we're not going to make it out of 2024 without an anti-Semitism bill. Now, I was being overly generous with that, because with that assessment, because I said it's coming. I don't know how soon, but I know we ain't going to make it out of this year. The next day, somehow the bill just materialized. And then next thing you know, that thing just moonwalked its way through the Congress, and the Senate's going to sign off on it quickly. We're going to identify some of the black Congress people that are not only signed for it, but very enthusiastic about signing it. We're going to look at this bill called the Columbia Act. We already did a video about that earlier today. We're going to look at that again. Okay. Now, as we're going in this, because again, we're in a generation right now where people lose attention very quickly. So I'm trying to tell you all on the front end, all the things we're covering. All right. And then you decide if this is important to you. One of the things that's coming out of this that's very important, if you are a content creator, if you are someone that produces content on YouTube, here are the people that I'm talking, black folks now, that you have to be you got to be on high alert with this right now. If you produce content on YouTube or any other platform, social media platform, you need to be paying very close attention to this. And because what my personal advice is that, because as you know, not all black folks are on the Zionist wagon. Let's just put it that way. Okay. There are many of us who don't rock with that at all. We see it for what it is, and we will just say it, tell the truth, and keep it moving. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's it. Now, what I'm telling you is, you don't curtail that. You don't I'm not going to encourage anybody to say, you know what, you're going to have to shut up. You're going to have to hide somewhere. No, because I'm not doing that. But you have to be wise in this time. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what we're going to talk about. So again, if you are a content creator and you black like me, or maybe not, you can be any color. I don't care. This is applicable to anybody. My personal advice to you is, you better start going through all your uploaded content, and anything at all that you have posted that comes close to the items that are listed in this bill, or, and what they're pulling from. You may want to reconsider keeping that up online. I'm just saying, based on what I'm seeing right now, you may want to reconsider that, because I think, because based on what was signed today, I believe that we are now officially in a season where they're just going to have full power, just to not just issue strikes, but to completely take web channels and platforms completely down. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, because we have been, us and many other people, not only have been saying this for some time, but there are people who have been actually victim to this. But now what's going to happen is, it's going to start accelerating. And now what's happening is, Americans are starting to wake up and realize there was never really a such thing as freedom of speech. Even that was an illusion. Okay. The last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to get into the meat of it, is that this goes specifically, what I'm about to say is specifically for anybody that identifies as Hebrew. Now, for me personally, as I've always said, I do not hate people who identify as that. Okay. I do not have any hatred towards anybody who says Despite all the evidence, I don't have any hatred towards people like that. As I always say, what you choose to believe is your choice. As someone who has come out of that, I am now, because I'm out of it, I'm able to see a lot clearer and realize that a lot of the stuff in it wasn't what I thought it was, especially when I start comparing it to actual history and all that stuff, which is ongoing on this platform. Okay. So all we do is, hey, let's take a rewind and let's look at some of these things we were saying. Now, let me compare it to actual history. This doesn't match. You know what I'm saying? And then we just present it. And then what you want to believe on that is up to you. It's very simple. So I do not hate you at all. All right. Not sending anybody to hell, unlike some of y'all will do that to me, but I ain't doing that. I don't have a hell to send you to. And even if I did, I wouldn't. But I'm saying anybody, any Negro out here that is been cosplaying these people, you better watch your mouth in this era that we're in right now. I'm not talking about watch your mouth about me. I'm talking about watch what you say, period, on any of these platforms. Because you out here calling them, they're the fake ones and saying stuff like that. I'm telling you right now, they got you marked. Based on, you know, like I said, again, the content of this bill and what these folks are, what they're now doing, the corner they just turned. The last thing that any Negro should be doing right now is pretending to be the prison guards. Why the heck would you want to pretend to be the prison guard? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to pretend to be these people? Especially when you don't have their power. So this cosplaying stuff, I'm telling you right now, I'm just letting you know now, like I said again, what you do with it is up to you. You can sit up here all day and say, well, I hear you, Dwayne, but one day it's all going to change and one day he going to come down. You keep saying that. All I'm saying is you better be very careful on the things you say on these platforms now. That's all I'm saying. If you want to still play that, you still want to pretend and all of that stuff, you want to get out here and start calling them different names and saying this, that, or whatever, you go right on ahead. But I'm just letting you know, these folks ain't playing now. They're not playing. Yeah, Team Truth brought up about civil unrest. Why do you think they came out with the movie called Civil War, y'all? Because there's a lot of people right now that are really considering that. Because they're saying this bill just went way too far. So anyway, so that's pretty much what we're going to be covering in this broadcast. And again, like I said, again, if you're someone that has a very short attention span, I'm not being mean towards you. I don't hate you. I'm not making fun of you. It's okay. It's cool. I get it. But, you know, if you have a very short attention span, then, you know, maybe this isn't the video for you. Or perhaps if this is your bedtime or you're getting sleepy, that's fine. Just come back and the video will hopefully still be here. But we're going to be going through some things this evening. OK. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. And let's start looking at some things here. Yeah, we're going to get into the bill now. That's what we're going to be doing here. So let's go to we're going to first, let's look at the article. It's an article that talks about it. Then we're going to go to the actual bill itself. OK, because I want to give you an overview and then we're going to look at the article. I mean, we're going to look at the bill itself. OK. All right. So let me see. Let me pull that up here. Okay. Okay. It's called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. Okay. So let's go to here. All right. And let me go ahead and pull this up and let's go ahead and dig in. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. So it says House passes anti-Semitism bill with broad bipartisan support amid campus arrest. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. And like I said, again, after this, we're going to go into the actual bill so you can read it for yourself. OK. All right. So it says the House on Wednesday passed a bipartisan bill aimed at combining anti-Semitism as pro-Palestinian protest royal colleges and across the United States. The measure passed with a 320 to 91 vote. 21 Republicans and 70 Democrats voted against the legislation. The bill, titled the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, would mandate that the Education Department adopt the broad definition of anti-Semitism used by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, an intergovernmental group to enforce anti-discrimination laws. The international group defines anti-Semitism as a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. That's pretty broad. The group adds that they said something in physical manifestations of anti-Semitism include such things as calling for the killing and harming of Jews, or holding Jews collectively responsible for actions taken by the state of Israel. So you're not even able, this is another whole country here, United States. And here you got the state of Israel. They're not even a full country, dictating to a country that you aren't supposed to criticize them. The bill's prospects in the Senate are unclear. Asked whether the Senate would take up the legislation, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters earlier Wednesday that we haven't seen what the House is sending us yet. Yes, you have. Representative Mike Lawler, he's out in New York, introduced the bipartisan legislation, which received backing from Democrat moderates who are supporters of Israel amid the country's war crimes with Hamas. In every generation, the Jewish people have been scapegoated, harassed, evicted from their homeland, and murdered. He said before the vote of the House, in the House floor speech, the Jewish people need our support now. He says they need action now. And then he goes on, he says, when I spoke to Columbia last week, I told administrators that we need deeds, not words, to protect Jewish students. Democratic Representative Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey, a co-author of the legislation, said in a statement Wednesday, the bill is a critical step to take action. We so desperately need to stand against hate. All right. And then it goes on. All right. So now let's go and take a look at the actual text of the bill. All right. Small text here, but we'll get through it. OK, I'm making it as large as I can. If you need to make it large on your screen, maybe you can figure it out. OK, I'm doing the best I can here. OK. Anyway, let's take a look here. This is H.R. 6090. All right. This bill was actually introduced back last year, 2023. And let's go. It says to provide for the consideration of a definition of anti-Semitism set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination laws concerning education programs or activities and for other purposes. Now, just to be clear, this bill, for the most part, is mostly focused on educational systems like colleges, universities, and I'm sure schools and stuff will be part of that as well, right? Like grade schools. However, make no mistake about it, they're going to basically expand this thing dramatically. And that's why I'm saying you better watch it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so in the House of Representatives, they named the different people, who were part of it, who pushing this. You have Sheila Jackson Lee in the House. And then you have some other people as well. All right. Anyway, and they said a bill. It says to provide for the consideration of a definition of anti-Semitism set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination. Okay, we're just going to skip. Okay, I'm not going to be reading letter from letter here. All right. Let's see here. Okay, we'll go to section 2. It says sense of Congress. It is sense of Congress that Title, I guess that's 6 of Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in the programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. I'm going to try to say something here and try to say it in a way that's plantation safe, but people who are really listening will understand exactly what I'm saying. All right. So let me try to figure out how I'm going to say this. When you look at the history of the civil rights movement and the bill, the civil rights bill, there was a certain group of people who were very instrumental in that movement. Okay, I don't need to say anything else there, and neither do you need to put in the chat. All right, there was a certain group of people that was very instrumental in that movement, and what is now clear, now that we're seeing this legislation, is that we were basically used as as the Trojan horses, so to speak. Because yes, they marched with us. They helped write speeches. Some have even shed blood. But the whole time they were learning. Because at that time in American history, we were the real victims here. And if you want to be a professional victim, how are you going to learn to be a professional anything unless you learn from the people or the individual who has experience in that area? In this country, it was black people. And so by them using the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which primarily was for black folks, even though it included other groups, but it's primarily for black folks. This is being now used to push a whole nother bill for a very specific group of people. Do you understand what's happening right in front of you right now? How is it that all the hell that our people caught in this country, they couldn't even put black in the bill? They couldn't even put African American in the bill. I'm talking about the Civil Rights Act. It's race, color, or national origin. It's very broad, so that can apply to anybody. But for this specific group, it's very specific. They get specific legislation. You think about that for a second. We talking about, anyway, let me just keep moving. Anyway, next section, it says, point here. While such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, individuals who face discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics do not lose protection under such title for also being members of a group that share a common religion. All right, next one, it says discrimination against Jews, very specific here, may give a rise to a violation of such title when the discrimination is based on race, color, or national origin, which can include discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics. It is the policy of the United States to enforce such title against prohibited forms of discrimination rooted in anti-Semitism as vigorously as against all other forms of discrimination prohibited by such title. And as noted in the U.S. National Strategy to Counter Anti-Semitism issued by the White House on May the 25th, 2023, it is critical to increase awareness and understanding of anti-Semitism, including its threat to America, improve safety and security for Jewish communities, reverse the normalization of anti-Semitism and counter anti-Semitic discrimination, and expand communication and collaboration between communities. The other thing you got to keep in mind is this bill isn't just a federal bill. It's backed by a whole nation state. I want you to understand this. I want you to understand the gravity of this. It's backed by a whole nation state. When they did the Civil Rights Bill, it was backed by the oppressor. Let me say that again, and I want you to think about that. When they did the Civil Rights Bill, which isn't really specific when it comes to black folks, It was a promissory note that was backed by the very people that was out here lynching our behinds, chasing us in the street, beating us down, discriminating us based on color, doing the whole nine. They are the ones that came out with the promissory note saying, we promise we ain't gonna do nothing anymore. We gonna go after anybody that says anything to you based on your race, creed, color, or whatever. That was a promissory note from your worst enemy. Israel, on the other hand, they said, we're going to push a piece of legislation in this country and we are going to back it. See, that's power there. When you got a whole nation state backing you, even if you're in a whole nother country, that's some serious power. That's what I'm saying. Negroes out here, y'all don't understand. Some of these people don't understand. You think you're going to get some justice by going to the very oppressor and ask and you tweet. I done tweeted the hell out of this thing today. I'm going to make sure they're going to know today. They're going to know where I'm standing. You think they sitting up there reading your tweets and your posts? That's not how it works in this system. In this system, they are the chosen ones. You can say all you want. Oh, we're the real people. We're the real chosen. Okay. In the theater of your mind, that works. But outside of the theater, once the movie is over, in the real world, they're the chosen people. You either going to recognize that now or later. It don't matter. But one day you're going to face reality on that. Okay, let's continue. It says under findings, section 3, Congress finds the following: anti-Semitism is on the rise in the United States and is impacting Jewish students, K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, referred to in this act as IHRA, working definition of anti-Semitism, is a vital tool which helps individuals understand and identify the various manifestations of anti-Semitism. Notice it says a working definition, meaning that this thing is forever going to be changed. It's going to keep changing. Since 2018, the Department of Education has used the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism when investigating violations of that title. Okay, and it goes on. Let's see. I'm just skipping here. Definitions. For purpose of this act, the definition of anti-Semitism means the definition of anti-Semitism adopted May 26, 2016. And they keep referring to the IHRA. Now, what's interesting is that their website is down. Once this bill passed, all of a sudden their website stopped working. Hold on? Let me see if I can pull it up now. Maybe it came back up. This is it right here. Let me see. And this is the section here. What is anti-Semitism? Let me see if I can get it up. Oh, it doesn't work. Ain't that something? But thankfully, we got people out here that can take some screenshots, and we got that. I told you, we're not playing. We're going to look at all of this. All right. And anyway, it goes on with this right here. Other rules of construction. Let's see. Is this anything worth reading? Not really. It's a very, as you can see so far, this is a very broad act that they just signed today. All right. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the State Department. Okay. And we're going to look at the State Department on their website, and we're going to learn how it's defined there. All right. Here it is right here. I actually posted it on a community page a little while ago. But for those who didn't have time to read it, that's cool. I'll go over it with you. Okay, so they said here we go again. The Department of the State has issued a working definition along with examples of anti-Semitism. Here we go with the working definition, meaning that it's always going to be involved. It's always evolving. It's going to keep always changing. It's going to give them room to keep adding more stuff to it. Let's get to the meat of it. Okay, contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, and workplace, and in the religious sphere could, taking into account the overall context, include but are not limited to. All right. So this thing, they're going to keep adding to this stuff. All right, so let's go. It says calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion. Now, let's stop there for a second. Now, when you read that, you may think, well, of course, I mean, most decent people aren't going to be out here saying they want to see all those people dead. You know what I mean? Or calling for something, they get killed or something like that. Most decent people ain't going to say that, right? I mean, you got some fools out there that'll get out there and be saying stuff, but most people ain't going to be doing that. You go to Target or, grocery store or wherever it is you go, at the mall, you ain't going to be seeing people walking around with shirts saying, I want all these different, these certain people. That you're not going to see that. In most cases, you're not. But what if you are saying you're an individual and you happen to see some footage on social media about the conflict going on, Israel versus Gaza, or whatever the stage play is at the moment, and you say, you know what, I'm really for Gaza, meaning that I really see their side of it, and I would love to see them come out victorious in this situation. Well, that could very well be filed under what I just read to you. So, because someone can easily jump to the conclusions and say, oh, so you're saying you're for the killing and the harming of. You understand what I'm saying? You see where this goes? And I got interviews where these folks, they always jump to those high conclusions like that. See, you hear me saying that and you think, oh, well, you just being overreact. No, this is how they act. Anyway, let's move to the next one. It says making mendacious, hope I'm saying that right, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. So you can't point that out at all, because pointing that out would make you an anti-Semite. I'm going to stop there. There's a lot I can say on there, and y'all know I can, but I'm not saying it. All right, but let's continue. But I can say this for the plantation owners and observers of YouTube. I will point your attention to LA Times, and let me just do that right now. Because some things I'm not going to really comment and say it open out of my mouth. I'm just going to point it to you. All right. And let's see, LA Times. Let's see. Hold on. That wasn't the article. It's control. Let's see. Hold on. I'm pull it up. Pull it right up. Here we go right here. And they still got the article up right here. Pull it right up. Who runs Hollywood? Come on. Joel Stein. Read the article. I'll read a little bit of it right here. This is LA Times, overseers of YouTube. This is not me saying this. This is Mr. Joel Stein, December the 19th, 2008. He said this. Not me. He said it. He says, I have never been so upset by a poll in my life. Only 22% of Americans now believe the movie and television industries are pretty much run by Jews, down from nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti-Defamation League, which released the poll results last month, sees these numbers as a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood. He said that. I did not say that. He wrote it. And LA Times, they still keep it up. Speaking of which, look at this right here. I didn't even know. This is LA Times. They just got breaking news. UCLA declares unlawful assembly, poised to clear pro-Palestinian camp. So now all of a sudden, there is no right to assembly. So that movie, I didn't see it yet, but that movie, that Civil War thing, they're setting it up. They're setting it up for you. They're letting you know. Things are happening, moving very quickly here, y'all. Okay. And again, this is not to scare you, to get you uptight and worried and upset. We're just looking at what's going on right now. And then we're going to wrap this up by saying, what are some of the practical things we should be doing as for our people, black folks. Okay. All right. So let's go on. So that's what they say, not me. All right. Next point. It says accusing. Now, again, I'm reading from the State Department's own website. U.S. State Department, they said accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or a group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. So according to this, if I publicly am condemning, let's say, Netanyahu for pushing a policy that is basically, in my estimation, is genocide, then I am being anti-Semitic for saying that. Okay, according to this. Next point, it says denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, gas chambers, or intentionally of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of National Socialist Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II, the Holocaust. So basically, if you have any questions or if you deny that it happened, then basically you're anti-Semite. All right, let's see. This is like the Jewish version of you might be a redneck. This is, that comedian, he's got that thing. You might be a redneck if you might be an anti-Semite if, and then they can just ... and then you got this list here. All right, next point, it says accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. All right, everything I'm showing you right now, I'm going to point you right to their own sources. All right. I'm going to point you right to their own sources where they contradict themselves. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Okay. You can't mention that. You can't acknowledge that. Next thing, this is denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination. Example, by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. So we're supposed to ignore history on that one. We're supposed to ignore their role with apartheid South Africa. We're supposed to ignore that part. We're supposed to ignore how they were, how they supplied apartheid South, P.W. Botha, and what was going on down in apartheid South Africa. They were supplying them with weapons and trucks and stuff like that. And training. We're supposed to ignore all of that. Okay, but anyway, let's keep moving. Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded by any other democratic nation. Anyway, let's move on. Using the symbols and images. Now pay attention to this one. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism. For example, claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel to characterize Israel or Israelis. So what this point is saying is that forget what it says in your Bible, because that whole part of your Bible is anti-Semitism. You ain't supposed to acknowledge that. Anyway, let's continue. Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. I got paperwork on that. We're going to look at that. All right. Holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel. So you can't hold them accountable for anything. That's basically what this is saying here. I mean, you can't get it. That's something, ain't it? Anyway, let's go ahead and let me go to this right here, because I told you we tried to go to the IHRA website. I couldn't get to it because it's down. Surprise, surprise, it doesn't work. All right. So what I read to you came from the State Department's own website. And a lot of where they got that from was from this page right here. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's not on the screen now, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But you're going to see that they're just too similar. I mean, that's pretty much where they got it from. All right, so this is it here, the full text of the IHRA working definition. All right, and so there you go right here. And so anyway, you see, it's the same thing. Calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing of, harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology. This is literally the same thing I just read to you. So this is where they came, this is where they got it from. Where's the other? Hold on for a sec. Okay, there it is. Here's page 2. Yeah, they got it from here. So if you want it, so if you can't get to the IHRA website, just go to the State Department's website. It's on there. And this is where they're getting it from. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is let me see what would be the best thing that I can do right now. Do I go on Twitter? Because I have a lot of things on Twitter to show you. Yeah, let me go on Twitter here. Let me see what I can show you here. I'll just bring up my page here. Okay. And we're going to take a dive here and look at some of the stuff that I bookmarked on Twitter. As you can see on the right hand side, it's like the top trending thing right now. And if you going by what you see on Twitter, there's a lot of people that are upset right now. All right. So anyway, here we go. They mentioned here that in 2019 about the executive order that was pushed and, denouncing the drastic rise of anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world. And so, yeah, that's what, so they've had bills to come about, they've had different pieces of legislation or executive orders that's come about, but now they're getting into the nitty gritty now. All right. All right. So anyway, this is the actual passing of the bill right here. We don't need to watch that. Someone put this together. I did not do this, but this is one of the black folks, Hakeem Jeffries. He's a congressman out of New York. I didn't put this together. Someone did. And I thought it was, I'll let it speak for itself.
Israel today, segregation now. Israel tomorrow, segregation tomorrow. Israel forever, God. Segregation forever. Israel today, segregation now. Israel tomorrow, segregation tomorrow. Israel forever, God.
Yep. Yep. This is the guy right here. And he's received, looks like, over $1 million, $1.2 million from them. And you think these are the people that are going to push your cause? You better go sit down somewhere with that one. All right. This right here, I don't need to play that, but they're basically saying how, the different groups that are behind both sides. George Soros, of course, he's Jewish. He's behind one side, and you got some of these other very wealthy people that are behind the other side. And this is what that video talks about. All right, let's move on here. Let's see. This has music on it, but this guy does a breakdown. Let me see.
I have to say these.
Yeah, I can't play that. But he does a breakdown on it. I'll try to figure out where I can play that. Okay, so let me go on here. Scrolling here. Okay, so let's take a listen here. This is NYPD entering Columbia's Hamilton Hall. This is from MSNBC. I want you to take a listen to what they're saying. This is what Columbia University, this was their official statement.
I want to read a statement that we just got from Columbia. A little after 9 p.m. this evening, the NYPD arrived on campus at the university's request. This decision was made to restore safety and order to our community. We regret that protesters have chosen to escalate the situation through their actions. After the university learned overnight that Hamilton Hall had been occupied, vandalized, and blockaded, we were left with no choice. Columbia public safety personnel were forced out of the building, and a member of our facilities team was threatened. We will not risk the safety of our community or the potential for further escalation. The leadership team, including the Board of Trustees, met throughout the night and into the early morning, consulting with security experts and law enforcement to determine the best plan to protect our students and the entire Columbia University community. We made the decision early in the morning that this was a law enforcement matter and that the NYPD were best positioned to determine and execute an appropriate response. This is interesting. We believe that the group that broke into and occupied the building is led by individuals who are not affiliated with the university.
See?
Sadly, this dangerous decision followed more than a week of what had been productive discussions with representatives of the West Lawn encampment.
See, there you go. They're telling you that a lot of these people that's pushing this stuff, they're not even students on the campus. They're not even students. Anyway, let me keep on going here. This is what I did with the research group earlier. This is a side item. You know, while all that stuff is going on right now as we speak, there's a lot of revelations that are coming out about the the jab. And one day I won't be able to talk about it on this platform, but we will talk about it. OK, let's see here in this post right here. They said confirmed list of college campuses that have constructed encampments across the United States. All of these universities, they all have encampments, and not just encampments, but they have a whole network where they're getting food, they're getting water, they're getting tents. And someone went around and started taking pictures of all these different tents on different campuses. And they're like, hold on, how is it that all these tents look alike? Because again, it's staged. Like someone just said, it's staged. And the fact that all of this stuff is coordinated. And again, this is what I was mentioning to the research group earlier. Think about this for a second. When you think of the people of, that the images and the video and stuff that we see on, these people in the Palestinian people, they're running for their lives, they're getting bombed and, and their buildings and houses getting all torched up and all this stuff. So these people are literally running for their lives, right? That's what we are constantly bombarded with. How in the world are they able to multitask by running from bombs, but at the same time, you got a tight network of people on not just any college or university, on Ivy League schools. You running from bombs and missiles and everything else, but at the same time, you're able to coordinate a well-oiled machine with colleges and universities all across the United States. And we're supposed to believe that this is just organic. Man, get out of here with that. Get all the way out of here with that foolishness. Anyway, let me see what else I had here. I'm trying to see what else I had. There's some other stuff on here too that's not exactly related, but one day we'll talk about this. I thought this was interesting. They said when you realize the dollar sign is the serpent and the staff, that's gonna mess up with some people there. But that should be good, because Moses, he had the staff, and God, Yahweh told him to wrap the serpent around the pole, and so that means it's holy money, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about that too. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, let me get out of here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our that's the other thing I was going to bring up too. Biden is this news came out earlier. Biden said that he is considering, his people said, his handlers said, let's just put it that way. His handlers said that they are considering getting these Palestinian people to come over and become U.S. citizens. So, just like the Ukrainians, they bombed the heck out of them. They said, you know what, you can come over to America. The Afghan people, they bombed the heck out of them. They say, you come over to America. The Haitian peoples, they say, keep your nigga behind. I'm sorry, too late. I guess that word came out of my mouth. Stay home. They literally will swim from one coast to the other and come and literally finally made it. And they said, you know what? We got planes waiting for you. You going back. But all these other people, they come on in the room. There's plenty of room for you. And we're going to make sure we stuff you where the most black folks are, because we're trying to replace them. You better be aware of what's going on, y'all, in front of you. And then you got these dumb folks who are out here and want to do a whole diaspora war and go off on, well, these Haitians, they don't belong here anyway because they be saying all kinds of stuff about us here in America and all, we FBA and they need to go back. And and then you had some people that were literally black folks saying they were taking pictures of themselves calling border control on Haitians because and they said, I'm gonna report you and you need to go back. Now, at any time in history that as a people, we need to figure out how we need to come together and work together, it's now. Now, I understand you can't work with anybody, and I also understand the fact that you do have some tensions, and I understand the history behind those tensions. I get all that. I understand that. But what you saw, see how all this is coming together? Through all of this, they wanted to make sure that you as black folks never, ever, ever learn to work together. And so that's why they got all of these different ones. That's why I say for me, and I will boldly say this whole FBA thing was one big Fed op. I'll say it. I'm on the record. I'll put myself on the record and I'll tell you that it was one big op. I understand the gist of it because, like I said again, you cannot tell an effective lie without some truth. And the FBA mantra and some of the things they were saying, there's some truth in that. But overall, what's the end game? And what were we seeing constantly and still to this day? A lot of barraging of just you talking down, calling them, hut dwellers and, you need to go back to your own country. And I mean, just saying a lot of derogatory things. Making AI pictures, making fun of them, making fun of their facial features and all. These are Africans. These are black folks making fun of Africans. Meanwhile, this group that we're talking about right now, they're moving things. They're getting together. They're getting Congress basically to push bills and legislation, and they're moving together, and they've successfully been able to get bills passed to where if you say anything about them, you can get in a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, we're stuck with Facebook, we're stuck with Twitter, we're stuck with TikTok, and we're making fun of each other, and that's about as far as we can go. I think there's some things I can kind of look over at this point. Especially when I see when they, what's going on here. Hey, listen, this is extermination of our culture, and we need to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? We got to figure something out here. But people are so stuck on that. Anyway, let me go on here. I told y'all we're gonna look at some of these receipts here. I told you this. This is the kind of stuff. Now, again, this ain't me saying this. This is coming from their own history. I'm not saying this. This is what they're saying. Let me pull it up. Here it is right here. All right. This is a publication called The Cradle. Now, this is history. Okay. I don't have to get into this. I think I've actually covered. I have covered this stuff before, but I'm just going to breeze through it again. This is history. Now, with this legislation, we're not supposed to even talk about this because it's anti-Semitism if I say anything, because one of the things they said, if you dare compare us to those filthy Nazis, then you can get in a lot of trouble for that. Okay, well, I can look at your history then and let your own history speak for itself. Let's do that. Okay. Zionist militias sought to enlist Nazi aid in Palestine report. Zionist militias such as the whatever it is and the some other group here eventually made up a bulk of the Israeli military. What? What? Huh? What? Uh-oh. Recently, declassified documents from Israeli state archives reveal how the Lehi, I guess that's how it said, one of the many Zionist militias operated Palestine prior to the formation of Israel, attempted to enlist the aid of Nazi Germany against the British mandate, Haaretz reported last week. And it goes on. I don't need to read the rest of it. Take a screenshot. You can look it up on your own. This is their stuff. This ain't me saying this. Historian, Nazi army included 150,000 of Jewish descent. This is from Haaretz. This is their own newspaper. But we can't say any of this stuff now because it means I hate them. I'm just reading your own history. The Templars, German settlers who left their mark on Palestine. Again, this is the BBC. They said the Germans were no longer welcome in what has been, were no longer welcome in what had been first a part of the Ottoman Empire, then British Mandate Palestine, and would soon become Israel. On the 3rd of September, 1939, we were listening to BBC and my father's, okay, let me skip here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so he's talking about the Templars here, and that's why I didn't want to read too much. But yeah, this goes into, if you want to know more about this, these Templars, they were basically Germans. These are German folks. They weren't necessarily German Jews. These were German folks that were working side by side with the Jewish people in establishing things in Israel, what we call I would say at that time, Palestine. Here's some old pictures here. After World War I, hundreds of Templars were expelled to Egypt, where they lived in internment camps. Temple Society in Germany. I'm just giving you their own history. Roseanne Hahn went to a Templar school in the German colony in Jerusalem. Did you know they had a German colony in Jerusalem? Did you know that? Let's see. Let's read this. We're just reading their own history. By this time, the Nazi Party had risen to power in Germany, and the ripples had spread to expatriate communities, including Palestine. A branch was established in Haifa by Templar Karl Ruff in 1933, and other Templar colonies followed, including Jerusalem. While National Socialism caught the imagination of many of the younger, less religious Templars, it met resistance from the older generation. The older Templars were afraid that the Fuhrer would overtake Jesus' ideology, says whatever that person's name is. Many of the young people were easily influenced by Nazism. There were many young Templars who studied in Germany at the time, and when they came back, they were very excited about Nazism. Wait a minute here. This ain't my blog. This ain't me writing this. I have to keep saying this. This is their sources. This is what they're saying. So they said these young people, Jews, they were in Germany, learned about Nazism. They came back to Palestine, which later became Israel. They were excited about Nazism. And how about this? Let's read more. The British Boy Scouts and the Girl Guides, which operated in the German colony, were replaced by Hitler Youth and the League of German Maidens. Workers joined the Nazi labor organization, and party members greeted each other in the street with Hail Hitler and a Nazi salute. Under pressure from this individual here, Buchhalter, some Germans boycotted Jewish businesses in Jerusalem. While Jews did the same in return. So they were throwing the sign up in Jerusalem. Did you ever get that lesson in school? But somehow, if I acknowledge this, if I'm just simply reading this, it means I hate them according to the legislation. That's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, let's go on and let me go to our community page here. All right. So I'm going to do a bit of scrolling here. If you give me just a moment here, we're just going to look at a few more things that we've posted. And we're going to keep on moving. But like I said, again, this is all history right here, y'all. This is all history. And anyway, here we go. So I posted these things here. These are quotes of those people acknowledging their role in the slave trade. This is their direct quotes. Okay. And now this is just, like I said, again, I'm going through our community page and I'm just giving you random information. So it ain't going to be like in any particular order. Okay. But these are things that we've been posting on our community page and we've been talking about this stuff. Out of the 8 Ivy League school presidents, 6 of them are Jewish. Now, how in the world can you make the argument that somehow these students are so under much pressure and it's so scary but your president is one of you? You tell me the president don't have any power to stop any of that at all? See, this is where I get completely pissed off, because when they try to compare themselves to, people like Ruby Bridges and some of our other dear people back in the day that was just simply trying to get a basic education, we didn't have black people on staff in these schools. Well, actually we did. They were the ones that I think they were doing the janitorial service. Yeah, maybe that. So maybe we can include that. But other than that, we didn't have black people on these in these school administrations. They're running the whole camp. These folks are not only running the campuses, they are also the main funders of these campuses. And you're trying to tell us that you don't have any power, that they're living under great fear and all this stuff. You fund the thing. You run it. Why are you allowing that? Why are you acting like you fumble like, oh, I don't know what we can do. This thing is going out of control. I don't know what to do. You running the thing. One thing you ain't going to find up in this house is disorder. I ain't going to come in here and be like in my house and it's such disorder. And I'm like, Nicole, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. She coming at me. I don't know either. The hands are up and all that stuff. I don't know what we're going to do. We all just walking around, bumping into each other, tripping and stuff. I don't know. No, nobody going to do that. It ain't happening up here. And it's just my house. You tell me y'all can't, and that's a little bit of money. Okay. You telling me you got all that money, you running it, but yet you can't control what's going on your campus. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm supposed to run with that. I'm supposed to believe that. Okay. That's a full insult, and leave us and our history out of your mouth. And I will say that. All right. Again, I'm just going through some random stuff. I'm going to keep saying this on this platform, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. Again, our people who are still in the Hebrew matrix, I love you, but I love you enough to tell you the truth. Okay. In this phase of time that we're in right now, you are going to have to leave that whole thing alone. You got to stop pretending to be these people, because you're not them. You have to leave that alone. You are not them. But we're the real people. Okay. And we've already gone through this over and over again. You did not write that book. You did not write the Torah. They gave that to you. They gave it to you. You didn't know anything about that until you got on YouTube, until you got on some social media platform and someone told you that, you know what, I'm reading it. This kind of sound like us. And then you just jumped on that and started accepting it as you. No, they gave it to you. And they left it up to anybody. You want to interpret it however you want. We don't care. But at the end of the day, we wrote it. And it's really telling us about us. Ain't talking about y'all. And our people will celebrate their same holidays. We doing the same feast day that they're doing. Now let me go on their YouTube page. Let me see how they do their feast days. Let me see how they pronounce Mashiach. Let me see how they pronounce, Yeshua HaMashiach. Let me see how they do that. Let me learn how they do that. Let me learn how they wear their head scarves. Let me learn this. You looking at everything they're doing and you celebrating their same stuff, but you ain't got no power. The only power you got is to get on social media and have these argument-a-thons going back and forth over scriptures, going back and forth over DNA, but you ain't got no power, ain't build nothing, ain't never going to build anything except another documentary that's full of AI artwork that look as weird and strange as I don't know what. supposed to be black Hebrews, and they got Roman clothes on. Roman clothes and got afros. Come on now. And I be seeing some of the comments of some people, they're like, oh, praise, that looks just like us. What dimension are you living in where you believe that you have black folks walking around with Roman outfits on and got afros and got a pick in their hair? I'm trying to tell you what I'm seeing out here. Anyway, let me move because I got a lot of stuff here. Let me go. Anyway, Tech Tribes, just a little commercial here. Y'all make sure you subscribe to this this podcast here, because like I said, it's only 3 to 5 minutes, and we are taking our time. We are going through our history, y'all. Our history. I'm talking about black folks that have come through the transatlantic slave trade, you know, and all of that. That's our focus. We know there was an Arab slave trade. We got that, but it doesn't matter. Look, someone already down there and they getting their feelings hurt. I'm sorry, but it's true. Get your feelings hurt and go get yourself together. But it's true anyhow. All right. So anyway, what we look at is our actual history, and the amazing things our people can, you know, developed on our own and all that. It's wonderful histories behind this, wonderful stories behind this. This one here just happens to be about jerk seasoning. That one is really, when I did that, I was like, wow, I didn't know some of this stuff. Jerk seasoning. How many of y'all heard of barbacoa? Barbacoa. Barbacoa is actually, when you think of Chipotle, one of my favorite things I get just about all the time is barbacoa beef. I get that. Now, you may set up there and thought, oh, that's just Mexican food. It's like Americanized Mexican food. Well, kind of, sort of, but not. Barbacoa actually came from the Taino people in Jamaica. Now, the Taino people, they were the natives of that land. You know, some of them were dark skinned or whatever, but they look more what we would say Indian, right? But they mixed, they intertwined with the Africans that were being brought over as slaves. The Taino people, they actually were the ones that actually had this style of cooking when it came to beef, and they called it barbacoa, where we get the word barbecue from. So the next time you go to Chipotle and you get yourself a barbacoa beef bowl, that ain't necessarily Mexican. Now, even though in Mexico, I'm sure they were doing it too, but it originates from the Taino people in Jamaica. But the seasonings and stuff that they put in to really make it what it is today, it's partly from the Taino people, and the other part is from the Africans that came over as slaves. See, you didn't know that when you went to Chipotle. You just thought it was just an Americanized Mexican restaurant. No. We all up in there too. Read the record. We talked about that in this. I didn't talk about this in the jerk seasoning one. The other one I did on Tech Tribes, the most latest one, I talked about carbon steel. Many of you heard of carbon steel. Carbon steel was something that the Bantu people actually came up with in Tanzania, going back almost 2,000 years. This ain't some made up, like I'm just going through the historical books and I'm just saying, I'm gonna make him black, I'm gonna make them black, no. Look it up yourself. Just do a simple Google search and search what is the origin of carbon steel. They're going to mention Tanzania, the Bantus of Tanzania. They're the ones that developed the technology. And the reason why this is so important is because your knives, your forks, railroad spikes, cars, all of that stuff is made of carbonated steel. And swords, they came out. Now, Japan came a little bit later, and they're, you know, when they started using carbon steel, but it started, the earliest record of it is in Tanzania with the Bantu there. See, these are all kind of nuggets we try to highlight on this platform because we want our people to feel proud of our lineage, of our history, and stop walking around and cosplaying some of the most wicked people on the earth. I don't understand that. But anyway, let's move on. I'm just showing you some, that was just a station break there. Let me go here, and there's some other things I'm gonna show y'all real quick on here, and then let's go in here. Let's see some stuff I posted a while back. Make sure you check out the Who in the L podcast, of course. But again, I'm trying to keep it focused on what we're talking about here. Let's see. There's a lot of things I can stop here on, but I'm looking for something in particular here. Okay, hold on for a sec. Hold on, let me get this off the screen here so that you ain't getting dizzy as I'm scrolling here. It's something in particular. There's a few things in particular I'm looking for here. Okay, so hold on for just a second. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's one thing right here. This is all on our community page here. Now, we're not supposed to question the H cost. We're not supposed to question it at all, because if you question it, that means you hate them. Now, all you got to do is go to their source. This is their source, okay? I'm going to their source because I want to learn the truth. Now, according to their sources, this is what it says. There are just 100,000 Holocaust survivors alive today. Jerusalem Post, there are 192,000 Holocaust survivors living in Israel. All right. Now that was so July the 3rd, 2016, they said that there was 100,000 Holocaust survivors alive today. Okay. Watch the dates here. July the 3rd, 2016, they said it was 100,000 survivors alive today. Jerusalem Post followed up 4 years later and said that it was 192 survivors living in Israel. Which is it? I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get to the truth. And then later on in 2020, they said archivists are racing to identify every Jewish Holocaust victim. And then they said on the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, just 400,000 Holocaust survivors still alive. So how does it go from 100,000 to 192,000 to now 400,000? How is that even possible? Again, I'm going to your sources to find out the truth. And this is what your sources are saying. But what you're saying, according to this legislation, if I question it, then that means I hate you. No, that's wrong. You just ain't got your receipts right. And here on platforms like this, we're keeping all the receipts that we can find. And we're going to make backup copies on backup copies all day long. And I'm going to keep on doing it. Like I said again, you can believe what you want to believe. I don't care what you believe. But you ain't going to be passing no lies on us. And if it's something true, then let the truth stand. I don't care. We are very confident in who we are, and we are very confident of the purpose of why we're here. I'm talking about here. Very confident of that. We don't need to look at anybody else to get verification. We don't need to be validated by anybody. I don't need to be sitting down with any of these people and trying to get them to, well, are we doing this right? And let's compare DNA and make sure. I don't need to do any of that. Look at it. The billionaire who enabling Haiti's murderous gangs. Do I need to say any more on that one? The richest person in Haiti is this person that you're looking at right now. Anyway, let me keep it right on moving. But I'm not supposed to acknowledge that. I'm not supposed to acknowledge that at all. I'm supposed to just keep it moving and look the other way. No, we ain't doing that here. All right. This is a state senator. We did a story on this. This state senator who's in the middle here is pushing a piece of legislation basically to push. Oh, that's what it was. Now, she's a Jewish woman. She's pushing a piece of a legislation in her state where she is, where she wants to make it legal for transgender or people who are into little children, messing around with little children, to give them sex dolls that look like little children. She's pushing this. And we talked about the history. Like I said, this is a blog post that we have. We talked about the history. When you go in their history, this gentleman here who started all of this just transgender LGBT stuff, is right here. This person I'm circling here. But again, if I mention that person, if I mention their history, then they're saying, no, you can't, no, that's anti-Semite. You anti-Semitism. That's your history. And we should be able to dialogue and talk about it. And then y'all got to face it. But no, y'all don't want to do that. All right. This is a post I did a while back, 2 months ago. Let's see. We talked about the slave owners, right? We talked about the Confederate banking system. The person who led the Confederate banking system was a Jewish man. The Confederate banking system. They were running this. This is all their history. His name was not Stanley David Levinson. That's the other guy down there too. Hold on. Do I have his name here? Well, if you follow, I think I have a link here or something. Maybe not. But it's on our long form history page. Yeah, it's on our long form history page. You can go there, and we talked all about that. We talked about the most of the families, many of the department stores in the South. Who were the families? What kind of families were the ones that controlled a lot of the department stores in the South? Anytime you see those lunch counters where you got our people sitting up there protesting, those black and white pictures and stuff, many of those lunch counters were owned by them folks. See, we just say, oh, it was just white people. No, it was more than just that. Let's talk about communism again. On these college campuses, one of the things they were highlighting, they were saying this is Zionism against Zionists against communists. They were trying to form that whole narrative that this is Zionism versus communists. Well, what's so funny and hilarious about that is that communism and Marxism was founded by them too. But again, we're not supposed to mention that. Then you got the Bolshevik Revolution. We can talk about that and what they did. What was the first thing they did? Hold on for a second. Do I have this in here? The first thing these people did was they tore down every statue. The communists, once they won and they overthrew the government and all that, one of the first things they did here, and this is what this post talks about, they identified 140 what they believe were anti-Jewish statues, and they totally tore them down. Did you ever know that? Did you ever hear that part in your history lessons? This is the first thing they did. But yet we're supposed to look at the communist and Marxist movement as, oh, they just are evil and all that. But nobody wants to talk about who created that whole ideology in the first place. You want to really blow your mind. You should do some history on China and how China was introduced to communism. Oh yes, China is very deep in this. I think we did a video. I don't think I did the video here. I think I did it on Bantu. And we talked about the history of them folks in China. They have a very long history in China, a very long history. We talked about their different last names in China that were converted. Like Cohen is actually converted to it's a Chinese name. I showed you a chart. When you see these different Chinese names, they actually come, in some cases, they actually come from the Jews that actually migrated there. And this is like many years ago. They're all up in their government, whole nine. China didn't just walk into communism. They were introduced to it. They were fascinated by it. I'm still looking at, and then, you got your celebrities and all that. They're all bought and sold. They're all in on it. All in on it. And then you got this group over here in Dimona, Israel. Again, copying these folks. You copying them so bad, you're going to move in their land. And it's not just this. This is why I see some people in there like trying to like boost these people up right here. This whole group in Dimona, they're trying to boost them up. And just say, yeah, that's our people. See, they own our land and, they're the forerunners. When you start digging into who these people really are, these people fight for IDF, y'all. That's one of the requirements. What channel is going to tell you that? Then that one Hebrew channel I've heard yet even bring that up. One of the requirements for them to exist in Dimona is that their people, once they reach a certain age, have to fight in the IDF. They have to be a member of the military. Why they leave this out? Name the channel. Why they leave it out? Why they don't talk about that? But the moment some story comes out talking about, hey, Israel talking about pushing them out, then we like, see, they trying to push us out. But one day the Most High gonna come. He gonna save all of us. You really want these folk be saved like that? Anyway, let's move on here. Oh, yeah, this is another story we did. I'm just showing you different things here. Quicken Loans, they actually have, and I looked into it and verified it. They have what was basically, it's another name for it. They're like kosher loans. You can get, if you are a Jewish person, you can get a special loan from them, from Quicken. And it's like no interest because they have a Jewish law where you're not supposed to charge interest to each other. So if you're Jewish and you're like, hey, listen, I'm looking for a loan, you can actually go to platforms like Quicken, banking platforms like Quicken, and you can get a loan with no interest. This is today. This is now. You can check all of these posts that I'm showing you right now. I give you links. I give you everything. You can check this out yourself. And like I said, there's some things I just cannot put on this platform because, I can only go but so far. I could only go but so far on this platform. We've also talked about the issue of poverty for a time now. I'm not really getting it now. I was getting all these ads on YouTube. They were saying, you got to help these people. They've been through a whole lot. The H costs. They've been through that. And we got to help them. We got to help them. That's the least we can do. We got to help them. Now, you got folks over there that are, according to these reports, they are starving. These survivors. I got to be edited in how I talk about this. These survivors are in poverty, right? And not just poverty in anywhere. They're in poverty in Israel. This is from their own sources. Their survivors are struggling to make ends meet. And you think about the billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars just the United States alone has passed over there. Everybody should be eating quite well over there. Oh yeah, this is a post I did about one of them folks there. They constructed weapons for the Confederate Army. This is some of the weapons that they constructed for the Confederate Army to keep your black behind in slavery. They were supplying the weapons. We provide you with links and everything else. Okay, this is one of the things I was getting at. This hotel right here, some of y'all saw this, remember this. Guess where this hotel is? Look at this hotel here. What do you see right there? Take a good look. I'll leave it up for a moment. Guess where this hotel is located? Well, was located in Jerusalem. It's called Hotel Fast. And they got like the Britain, they got their flag up there. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else like Britain. I can't see any other flag. And the Nazi flag flying side by side in Jerusalem. Anybody ever show you that? But if I mention this, now we live in the world. If we dare mention this, then that means you hate all of them. Yeah, we talked about that. There's many more posts I can show you here. Let me go here. Okay, this video here, remember liquor, white women, and the black man, a true story. You definitely want to see that. That's an older one. Yeah, it tells you all about how them folks actually use alchemy to get our people addicted to alcohol. And this is all their sources. This is not me making this up. Okay. And there you go. There you go. So anyway, so like I said, again, there's a lot more I can show and share on here, but do take the time. There is a lot, there is a lot put in writing and composing many of these posts. It does take a lot of time. I'm not, necessarily just begging you for anything, but I do want y'all to understand that it may be free information to you, but it does take a lot of time to put a lot of these things together. And so it's not something, if anything, I just want you to get it. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal. If you can get it and learn from it and grow from it, then mission accomplished. That's what we want. But again, it's not something that, it does take time. And I want y'all to understand that it does. I mean, yeah, it takes a whole lot of time, to put this together. But we're going to keep on doing it. So I don't know what's going to happen to this broadcast that you're seeing right now, but all we did, and this is the thing that I want to demonstrate to everybody that's watching this, is that, again, I'm not telling you we are not going to shy away from the truth, just like I just did just now. We're going to go right to their sources. That's the best way that you can still communicate the truth. And you should be doing that anyway. It's always go to the source, go to their source, and don't edit them. Don't kind of take their stuff out of context so that you can build your own narrative. No. You read the whole thing, because the whole thing will tell the whole story. You go right to their source, let them tell you. You understand what I'm saying? So again, for us, our people, if you're out here and you're out here using language where you are being very derogatory against them, simply because you're like, they're not real, they're fake, and they're this and that, or whatever, you got all kind of names you want to call them and all of that. What I'm saying is, we are in a time right now where they can more than likely snatch all your stuff off. And you can cry victim all you want, but that ain't going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. Like I told people all the time, I said, one thing you're not going to catch us doing on here is you're not going to catch us. Y'all, we going to get together, and I want y'all to write YouTube and let them know that, hey, listen, I ain't that bad of a person. Nobody's going to, no, I'm not begging nobody. That's the one thing I'm not going to be, is a beggar. I ain't begging nobody for nothing. And I especially ain't begging them for anything. We understand completely, when you're on the plantation got rules, and there are rules that they can make up on a whim. We get that completely. But again, if you just, like what I'm saying is, be a truth teller. I want you to be a truth teller, but I also want you to understand the cost that goes with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you can also be very smart and wise in how you tell the truth without any compromising. You don't have to compromise on anything. And the other takeaway with this is too, for our people especially, this is why we are telling people again, this is the time. Religion has been the number one enemy against, I'm talking our people tonight, black folks. I'm gonna say that again. Religion has been the number one enemy against black people. I'm gonna say that one more time. Religion has been the number one thing that has been the enemy against black people. Okay? It has been. Because what religion does, it's about control. It's about constriction. It's about keeping you blinded on a lot of things. It has you it scares you to the point where you better not ask any questions. You better stay within this straight and narrow. This is why you got religion. What's an example of religion? when you got people out here that want to beat you over the head every 5 minutes about the law, statutes, and commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments, and you ain't doing that, you're going to abide by that. I can't tell you the amount of emails that I've received from people who are scared to death because they are in fear that they're going to violate some law, some statute, or some commandment. But the Bible says it. Again, this is why we are questioning everything. We are looking at where those laws, those statutes, and those commandments actually came from. Who wrote them? When did they write them? Who inspired those laws? Who inspired those statutes? Who inspired those commandments? Who is Yahweh? Who is Yahweh? Where did that come from? And a lot of our people do not want to ask those questions, because if you answer that question, it's going to shatter everything that you have built up to this point. So you just want much rather just walk in ignorance. You just want to walk in ignorance and stay there. See, for me, I'm not going to clown you. I'm not going to do that. Now, there are platforms that will do that. I'm not going to clown you. But all I'm doing simply is here's the evidence right here. It's time for you to look at, it's time for you to wake up. Because once you begin to start questioning these things and you begin to see the truth of all this stuff and where a lot of this stuff comes from, what it will do is begin to open you up, and you begin to start seeing, you'll really begin to start seeing some things. You start seeing, wow, these people really lied about this. They're doing this, that. And then next thing you know, you'll realize, you'll be standing from afar like, well, dang, they really had me. All these things that they have told us, much of it is lies. But again, like I always say, you cannot tell an effective lie without some truth. And you're going to have to be bold enough to start questioning all of these things. You're going to have to be bold enough to do it. I had a brother, some of y'all heard the live the other day. He's saying, just really wrestling with this whole thing about, man, but when I look at the different things in the Bible, man, and it's like, it's telling our story, the most, the people who are most persecuted and all that stuff, man, that really fits us, man, that fits. And I understand what he's saying because I was there too. I understand that too. But the more and more you start digging in and finding out, it's like, well, the doggone it. When you are totally honest and you're looking at and comparing it to actual history and what inspired those stories in the first place, you'll see that, well, dag, this can apply to just about anybody. You can make this thing say and look like whatever it is that you want it to say and look like. You can do that with anything. And I look at a lot of these young men when I see them on YouTube or, Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and they're so passionate about going over the verses and arguing people about verses and going to read. And I feel sorry for them because I realize that this is all they have. And if they one day, if someone was able to do the snap and they just woke up and realized that, I fear what some of these young men would do when they realize that a lot of this stuff ain't it. It's not. I feel a lot of these people out here that, maybe you're in a household where you got one spouse. Maybe you're the one that's really looking in and asking these questions, but your spouse isn't. I understand. I get that. You know what I'm saying? But don't let that be an excuse for you to sit back and just conform to the nonsense. The worst thing that black people can be doing right now is copying and pretending to be your oppressor. Why in the world would you want to pretend to be a prison guard? These are prison guards, and we up here dressing up and acting like them. And, let me look over here and do the, hey, Billy, can you see what they doing right now? It looks like they doing the Passover. Well, shoot, I'm going to do a Passover too. Let's do that. Okay, what you got? Okay, well, I'm going to have you doing all of this stuff. Meanwhile, they're getting legislation passed, they're getting military, they're getting all this stuff, and we ain't getting nothing. Well, because one day he gonna flip out. Aren't you tired as a black person saying one day? I'm tired of that. I don't know about you, I'm tired of that. So my encouragement to you is, as we wrapping this broadcast up is realize what you're in right now. This matrix you're in right now, you are not their chosen one. Okay. In this system, you are not, they gave you Yahweh. They gave you these gods. They gave you, I am not saying that there is no creator. Let me be clear. Okay. For the slow people, I'm not saying we don't have a creator. Neither am I an atheist. Okay. Because atheists, depending on who you talk to, many of them do not believe in a creator. I'm not there, and I will not be there based on what I'm saying. We do have a creator, but it's these people that they put Yahweh in your mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? They put that there. They put the Bible in your hands. They told you about feast days. They told you about this stuff. Well, if you go through some of the African cultures, you'll see some of that. Yeah, you'll see some things like that. But all this stuff that we're saying right now, you are 100%. You ain't looking at them. You're looking at the Bible. And you're trying to make this thing fit to our situation today. And like I said in the other video, I said, all you got to do, let's challenge it. Go to, how many healings are you performing? He said, greater works than these shall you do. Are you performing anything? No. Okay, well, that's something we need to ask. We need to find out. We got to figure that out. We got to question it. That's a problem there. Too many of our people dying and getting sick. But we're the only people that feel like we got to make excuses for an almighty God. Why? You making excuses for a God they gave to you. And you think you left the plantation? You really think you made the plant? You left the plantation. But in reality, what you're doing, you're making excuses for a God they introduced to you. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. So my hope is that this legislation and these other pieces of legislation that are coming about right now, my hope is that people will begin to wake up and see and realize, wait a minute now, this thing ain't going like what we've been saying it was going to go. And as you begin to wake up, you'll begin to see, don't fear that. There are a lot of our people who fear that part. Like I said, again, I've been through church, realized what was up with that, left that, went to the Hebrew space, realized what was that. And then you feel it. There's a part of you that's like, man, I wasted all this time. Yeah, well, I just learned a good part of my life. I learned what not to do. Now I'm living in a part of my life where I'm beginning to realize and see and understand a lot of things. I don't understand everything, certainly not. But now I feel the freedom where I can begin to question things. Now, again, ultimately, listening to this broadcast, watching me or whatever, you believe what you want to believe. Okay? You believe whatever you want to believe. But what we're not going to do here is just accept things just because. We're not doing that. And the worst thing black folks can be doing right now is pretending to be these people. Because you will never in this plane have the power that they have right now. And why would you? Think about it. Why would I want to be these people? When you consider all these things that these people did, they said, when this thing flipped, we're going to be where they are. I don't want to be where they are. The stuff that they've been doing, I don't want that. I don't want to be treating people like that. I don't want to be overcharging people and all this. I don't want that. That's what you want. That's your promise. That's what you're looking forward to, having their stuff. I mean, think about it. A lot of people, when you listen to these people, they talk, yeah, when this thing flip, we're going to be where they are and they're going to be where we are. Okay, well, think about where they are right now. You want that. You want that. You want to be in a position where everything they're doing right now, have been doing. That's your goal in life, is to have their stuff. That's going to be your blessing. Then I listen to some of these brothers talking about, yeah, because we're going to have slaves and all this stuff. I said, that's your aspiration, is to get slaves? Well, they're going to be white slaves. What? That's your aspiration? To have slaves. That's the highest you can think, is to have slaves. Folks, we're going to have to wake up. Our people are going to have to wake up. And you're going to have to, like I said, again, we are in the era where we got to start analyzing and looking at these things. You don't have to be some highly educated individual that knows the ins and outs of politics and all that stuff. You ain't got to know all that stuff. But you do have to question everything. I'll leave you this last thing, and I promise I'm done. I saw this video, this guy, he was talking about AI. And he said, you know, the AI toys and stuff that they give us access to now, he said, that's just play stuff. He said, that's just stuff they allow you to have. He said, that's just play stuff. He said, but the real AI technology that they have right now, he said, man, they got stuff that goes way beyond what we got access to right now, which is true. So if we don't get it right and get it together now, and the thing this is why I brought it up. He said this, and this is, I thought was really stand out. He said, unless you are physically talking with somebody, in other words, if all your interactions, your personal interactions are internet based, he said, do not trust it. Okay. This is what this guy was saying. He said, don't trust it. He said, because the technology they have right now, you don't know who you're talking to. Unless you are physically talking with somebody, you ain't gonna know. I just finished watching 2 movies. It was The Last Mission Impossible, and that one, it was touching on this whole topic of AI and just what it can do and how it can manipulate so much. Really interesting. But then I came across this movie. It's a much older movie. Some of y'all older people, y'all may have heard of. It's called Colossus. This movie came out in 69, 70. And if you want to see an old school movie about AI, you definitely want to check that out. But both of them, it talks about technology getting to the place where you ain't going to know who to trust. So that's why I'm telling y'all, listen, and in both movies I just mentioned, they had to resort to seeing each other. They said, listen, we can't use these computers anymore. We're going to have to connect on a real level. Because if we can't, the whole technology thing, they've already got everything. They got it all compromised. I wouldn't be surprised one day, look, they'll have a whole channel like ours and I'm talking, you think it's me, but it ain't me. You understand what I'm saying? So for now, it's me. Okay. I'm real here, but this is where we're going right now. And this is why we got a family. We got to be alert in this time that we're in right now, because, yeah, it's really that important for us to be alert. And we're going to do the best we can on this platform as we come across things such as news items like this, that is very important, to try to explain it in a way that is very easy and palatable. But at the same time, it challenges you to take these things very seriously. Again, for these content creators that are out here, I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to be very careful now with your words and what you're putting out here. Not being scared, not being afraid, but don't be careless, because the stuff that's coming down the pike right now are things that are designed to get you in a gotcha situation, and they can easily take a lot of stuff away from you. There's not a such thing as freedom of speech in this country. Okay. That is not a such thing. That is a myth. And this bill has proven that is 100% a myth. There's not a such thing as freedom of speech. YouTube is not, they don't guarantee your freedom to say anything. They will snatch your behind in a minute. Okay. So anyway, so I just wanted to keep it real. If this video survives the AI bots, then so be it. If it doesn't, we'll make sure this is uploaded over on our streaming video page, and that's mybondtube.com. And that's where videos go to live and not die. Okay. All right. That's it, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you later on in the next video. Take care now.